What's up guys, welcome back. Now today we're checking out the all-new 2019 Ford Mustang Bullitt. This car costs close to $50,000 brand new, and with just a few options, it can range all the way up to $53,000. Now that's a few grand short of a GT350. The question is it worth it? And that is what we're gonna find out today. Here we are at the front end of the all-new Bullitt, and as you can tell, it shares the same refreshed front end found on the 2018 model year. And initially, yeah, it looks great, but looking closely, the front end is so much higher off the ground than the normal 2017 Mustangs, and that is a result of the facelift. Also, you get new styling cues like these LED headlights. If you look closely at the front headlights, you can tell that it shares the same arches found at the rear, the brake lights. That is a nice touch. And a lot of people are actually mad that they are not using these new headlights on the new GT500. One thing I don't understand about these front headlights is that they have these ducts right here. And where do they go, you ask? Nowhere. Looking closely, you'll find these brake ducts. But the weird part about it is that this refreshed front end, yes, it does have front air ducts, but they are closed as well. They go nowhere. I wonder why Ford did that. There has to be a reason why, but that is not efficient. One of the most notable features about the Mustang Bullitt is that you have a lot of chrome accents all over the car, and that being found in the grille as well. It's one solid outline around the grille, and it looks very good. Initially looking at it when I didn't see this car in person, I thought, okay, that might be a bit too much, but looking at it now, I believe it all comes together very nicely. A weird feature about this grille though is that in the middle of the grille, these honeycombs are massive. And as you go from left to right, the hole itself gets smaller and smaller. That is a pretty weird touch. Another weird part about the front end is that everything down here next to the splitter just grabs the air and it goes nowhere. So as you can tell, the wind is coming, it's hitting the car, it gets grabbed, it goes in here, it goes nowhere. It goes down here to the brakes, goes nowhere, it goes down in here, goes nowhere. The front end of this car is very different than that of the Mustang GT350. Everything about the GT350 has a function to it. This front end doesn't. Another strange nuance about this vehicle is that only one of these two air vents actually work, and that is found on the right side. And why does the left air vent not work, you ask? Well, let me show you. And that is because the air filter is found right below the vent. So the vent on the left side is just there for aesthetic purposes only. Here we are under the hood of the all-new Mustang Bullitt, and as you can tell, it looks a lot like my Shelby GT350R, and that is because you have the GT350 intake right here, and you have the GT350's throttle body. So that is an 87mm throttle body, and honestly, I do like this engine bay a lot more than the normal 2019, 2018 Ford Mustang GTs, because in this car, you don't have a gigantic cover over the entire engine. This is how it should be, I believe, and it looks much more raw in this manner as well. So as you know on this car, there's not many places where you'll find the Bullitt badge. One of the few places that you will is found on the strut tower brakes. All in all, this car makes 480 horsepower, 20 more than the normal 2018 Mustang GT. And you must recall, this is all motor. This is insane power levels for a Mustang 5-liter. This is really just a wonderful place to be, and you have a lot of nice touches all throughout the engine bay. Even right here on this cover, it says, "Powered by Ford." Thanks for reminding me. Now, here we are at the side profile of the Mustang Bullitt. You have no badges on this car. It makes the entire car look very sleeper, and that's something that I like a lot. What else do you get for buying a Mustang Bullitt? You also get chrome accents all around the windows, and I think if you back up and look at the profile of the car, it comes together very nicely because all these chrome accents go well with the wheels. And looking closely at these wheels, you can tell that these are 19-inch wheels. Now that's awesome, but what makes it even look better is that the style of these wheels remind you a lot like a 1968 Mustang, especially the Mustang found in the movie Bullitt. It makes the entire car look much meaner, much more like a pony car. Just like the front wheels, you also have this metal finish all around the edge of these 19-inch wheels. That's what I said matches the chrome accents. Oh yeah, and for tires, you also have Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, the replacement for the Super Sports. Yes, they're not in the same tier as the Cup 2 tires found on the Mustang GT Performance Package Level 2, and they're much skinnier. These are 275 tires. This car is meant to have fun with. This car is not meant to be a corner carver. This car is meant to kick out the tail end and drift around and just have fun. Here we are at the back end of the new Ford Mustang Bullitt, and as you can tell, there's no rear wing. And this touch makes it look very different than the Mustang GT. As you recall, the Mustang GT has like a GT350 style wing, but this car has no wing at all. And honestly, looking at it, it doesn't make the car look very bare bones. It makes it look like a proper pony car. No massive wing, just a big V8 car and a fastback body. But coming down here is where you're going to find the Bullitt badge. Just looking at it, you can tell it's very different than the badges found on the GT350s. The 350s have like a rectangle badge and the Cobra emblem in the middle. This one just has crosshairs and the name Bullitt in the middle. That just looks badass. Oh yeah, and also these Mustangs have no gas cap. So this may not be a big deal to some of you, but if you're used to it like I am, you just cannot go back. Here we are inside of the new Mustang Bullitt, and just looking around, it does feel pretty high quality. Yes, I think you have some plastics here and there, like right here where the handbrake goes and where the infotainment system is. There's plastic all around that, but it's not too much. Here we are at the door of the Mustang. As you can tell, it's got a nice metal finish where the grip is. The door handles pop outwards just like all S550 Mustangs do. You also have a nice outline around the B&O audio system. This is a 12-speaker audio system, and it costs about $2,500. The only plastic you'll find on the doors are found around the window switches. Just sitting in here, the steering wheel gives you a nice thick touch to it. It's not too thick, but the leather and everything to it, it feels very sturdy and it feels very grippy. I prefer the Alcantara steering wheels just because I'm used to the GT350s. But this is a steering wheel you can drive every day with and not deal with getting Alcantara completely dirty and cleaning it. Like I said, there's only a few places in this car where you'll find the Bullitt badge, that being on the steering wheel. It looks very menacing, even sitting in here right now. The car does feel, it certainly feels unique. And you'll also find the Bullitt badge right there on the passenger side. That gives you your chassis number. This one is an MP chassis number. This one is chassis number MP016, and that is because this is a pre-production model year. The cars that you will buy will have a K before the number. Here's the third place you'll find the Bullitt badge in the Ford Mustang, right here on the door sill. And this metal finish on the badge reminds me a lot of my GT350. The handbrake's got a nice feel to it, even putting it down. You know, that's one thing I noticed, is that there is some play with the handbrake once you put it down. This is something that just feels cheap. Also in the Mustang Bullitt, you'll find your classic cue ball shift knob. This reminds me a lot of my GT500 Super Snake. Just looking at this shift knob, guys, I get an instant kick of nostalgia. Sitting in this car and looking around, you see nice green stitching almost everywhere. It makes you feel like you are certainly in a Mustang Bullitt. You also find the green stitching on the Recaro emblem and all throughout the Recaro seat, going all the way down. I like that. Coming to the infotainment system, you've got the Sync 3 system that you find basically in all fours almost, and it's very intuitive. I think these Sync 3 systems are by far the best in the market. Whenever you buy an infotainment system from a major automaker, you can honestly tell that it's built to a higher standard than the smaller companies. Everything you want to do, it just does it. It's very functional and it's not a gimmick whatsoever. Moving below that, you got your CD player. All these buttons are very simple and easy to use. They are plastic, but to me it's not a big deal. Moving down here, you got these metal switches, and honestly, they make driving this car that much more fun. It's very satisfying just touching these and even using them. These switches give you excellent feedback every time you click it. The sound it makes is very satisfying. The entire dash panel has like a brushed metal finish to it. It makes this car feel like a $50,000 car. Sitting in these seats, the bolsters feel very nice. It's hugging me just enough. It's not too much where I can't move my body. I am certain I can take a corner relatively fast and be held in my seat just fine. But one thing I will point out is that you're paying $50,000 for manual seats. These could be a hassle for some people, but for others, you get used to them. Now these seats are actually a $1,600 option, so if you really want them, it's going to cost you a bit of money. The next question is, how are the rear seats? Well, I am average height, and I can barely even keep my head up without hitting this gigantic hump in the middle. It's not comfortable whatsoever, but if you have to put someone back here, you could for the time being. This is just for the occasion. And obviously, no Mustang owner is going to really have someone in the back seat all the time. The back seats are here if you need them. The green stitching continues all the way on these seats as well. This is the key for the new Mustang Bullitt, and as you can tell, it looks very different than the 2015 to 2017 Mustang keys. But it also looks very similar to other brands. This right here is a BMW key, and the fob itself looks very similar, even on both sides. So I wonder why that is, Ford. This Mustang Bullitt comes out to be $53,000, and my local Ford dealership is selling one with a $5,000 ADM. That being, the car comes out to be about $58,000. Should you be willing to spend $50,000 to $58,000 for a Mustang Bullitt? Well, let's drive it to find out. Here we are inside of the Mustang Bullitt. This is really my second time driving it. The first time I made a video of my first impressions, but now we're in the city. There are a ton of cars out. It's the day before Christmas Eve, so it is definitely packed. So it's going to be a good test to see if you can really daily drive a new Mustang Bullitt, because no, the mentality of this car is not like a GT350. It is not meant to be the fastest track Mustang you can buy. This is meant to be a Mustang you can drive every day. And that is what I'm going to test right now. One complaint I do have, though, is that I wish there was an easier way to change the exhaust mode. In the Shelbys, you get a dial down here that you can flip up and down, and instantly it changes from normal exhaust to loud exhaust. But in this car, you either got to go in track mode, which I honestly love. I love this mode because like the gauges are displayed in such a way it feels like a proper race car. But if you don't want to go in track mode and stiffen everything up, you can leave the car in normal mode, but you can hit this pony button right here. This is basically the main menu. Then you can change the exhaust mode from anything from quiet, normal, sport, and track. So instantly, I feel as if the clutch is a lot heavier than that of the GT350s. The GT350, it's a very light clutch, and it feels very clingy. This feels like a more proper Mustang clutch. It's got some weight to it. It's not as heavy as the GT500 was for the 2013-14 model year, but it definitely is, you can feel it. You can definitely feel it. So we got a gigantic dip right here. Good thing the front end is not as low as the GT350, because I easily just cleared that. All you gotta do is do a slight angle. But that's one good thing about the refreshed Mustang, is that the whole entire facelift makes it so that it's so easy to drive this on the street. Even right now, this is city traffic, and I feel like it's a smooth car to drive. It's not that firm. Just idling right now, the car doesn't shake. It's very livable. It's very calm. It's not BMW level livability. But you definitely do feel like you're in a sports car, number one, and that you can drive this every day. And like I said, the clutch, it's decently heavy. Maybe it could wear you down over time if you're stuck in hardcore traffic. But even the engagement point right now, if I just roll up, you can definitely feel the engagement point. So I think maybe after one drive, you can honestly get used to the clutch. So let's speed stuff up here. Wow, and it feels nice. Honestly though, I don't feel like the car is that much different than a normal Mustang GT right off the bat. But one thing that I did notice though is that when you downshift, it rev matches. I like that feature. I said this in my first impressions video, but the rev match feature is an awesome feature, because normally if you downshift your car, you can feel the entire vehicle kind of lurch forward a bit, and that is because the engine's trying to match the RPMs. But with this, it's one smooth transition between each gear, and this is exactly what you want if you want to preserve your transmission, number one, and go on a racetrack without upsetting the balance of the car. Oh yeah. Yeah, okay, it definitely, this car can move. This car can definitely move. It feels a lot like the Mustang GT in that regard. You've got a lot of torque, real down low, and if you just pop it down a gear and get to the high RPMs, maybe about 4,000 RPM to 5, and you gun it, you punch the car, the vehicle definitely will throw you back in your seat. And that's what a Mustang should do. It should be a fun car that if you do want to live on the edge a bit, you can really have some fun with it. The MagneRide is a definite must-have feature. It really helps with the body roll. You don't exactly feel any of it. It's not GT350 level dampening. It's obviously been tuned for the street. this car really does not feel like the Mustang PP2, which if you guys don't know what that is, that's the performance package level 2 for the Mustang GT, and that essentially adds 305 cut-to tires square, front and back. And I took that car onto the racetrack, and honestly, it felt like it could hang with a GT350, minus the straightaway speed and some of the braking aspects. But the cornering, the car is flat when it corners, 100% flat. What I like about the Bullitt Mustang is I can feel that the car has 275 tires in the back, and really, I think I do like that feature. You know, let's go ahead and turn on sport mode. That probably will stiffen up the Magna ride. It's on sport exhaust now. I can hear the sport exhaust all right. Oh yeah, this is nice. This is a nice place to be in. The transmission in this car does not feel as durable as the Tremec in the GT350. I think just the feel of the transmission inside of the GT350 is worth the extra few $1,000s to upgrade to a GT350 from this car. But if you do think about it, the buyer of a Bullitt Mustang may not be the same buyer of that of a GT350. This car doesn't sound as raspy as a GT350 does. When I rev match my GT350, it sounds like it's an exotic car almost. But in this car, it sounds like American muscle. When you're in this car, you feel like you are in a Ford Mustang. And I honestly have not felt this exact feeling before in the Mustang PP2. In the PP2, I thought I was in a proper track car. This, I feel like I'm in a pony car, which is one thing that I'm starting to like a lot. You have great visibility all around you. I do have to say one thing. I feel like I sit too high in this car. Yeah, okay. When you drive this car, you don't exactly feel the extra 20 horsepower, but once you do a pull, you definitely feel like it's got a tiny bit more there than compared to the normal Mustang GT. The shifts are not as quick as the automatic transmission, obviously, but the manual transmission, it offers extra engagement to the point where it's more fun and it's much more driver-oriented. The Mustang Bullitt offers something that the Mustang GT just can't. It offers 480 horsepower, a raw look, and special heritage. It sustains a layer of thrill and uniqueness that is not pierced by the standard GT. Available in only green or black, this car is worthy of the Bullitt name.